Welcome to Late of the Rings, a podcast dedicated to Lord of the Rings the card game. My name's John, and here's my co-host. If you want him, come and claim him. It's Emery. Just putting the offer out there.
Hello, John. And please, listener, please do come and claim him.
Yeah, if anyone is missing him, please do just come and claim him.
Does anyone claim this guy? No?
No?
Okay.
I'll keep him then.
That was a pretty badass thing of her to say, wasn't it, at that point?
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love it.
Come on then, if you think you're hard enough,
exactly.
basically.
You know.
Right, okay.
I'm just stood here in this river. I'm not going to do any magic or any funny business. You just come at me. Come on.
Yeah, it's just me and my sword. I won't do anything, promise.
I promise.
All right, okay, fine. I love the way the riders do that sudden look to the left. You know, like in a cartoon, so it's look to the left, there's just like huge, giant horses running at What the hell? That was great, by the way, that bit in the film. The way they did those horses in the water.
Oh, yeah.
Coming down the river.
No, it's fantastic. Because I think in the book, it's kind of just sort of suggested that it's got the power of the horses are almost encapsulated in the water. And I was thinking, oh, how are they going to really do this? And it just blew me away when I saw that the first time. I thought, oh, this is all right, I thought.
Yeah. So far, it's satisfactory.
Yeah, because but I remember because of course they built up Arwen's part for the film because they wanted to sort of give more weight to the female part. No, what's wrong to the female parts?
These female parts need more weight.
I can't remember what I was going to say now. What was I saying?
You want to give more weight to the female characters.
Yeah, that's right.
Something.
But how did I get onto that?
About it because it was Arwen rather than in the book. It's what's his face who saves them rather than Arwen.
Well, exactly. But that's what I was going to say. Who is it? Who is it in the book?
An elf, a Glorfindel, maybe.
An elf.
It's an elf. I can't remember, but it wasn't Arwen.
I think it is Glorfindel.
Yeah, but also, I think the way that they give more weight to Arwen's character, that really is key, I think, to the story of what Aragorn goes through.
Yeah,
kind of dramatically in the film.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love how they fleshed out Arwen's character. I mean, a lot of her character work that they show in the film is in the books, but not like actually in the books. You have to really start getting into the appendices and all that sort of backstory is written in there. But yeah, no, that scene is really terrific. So anyway, sir, how are you? How have you been? We are recording again relatively soon after the last time. I mean, relative compared to the 3 months we had between the episodes before that.
Yeah, and hopefully we can keep this up going forward. Let's see. But yeah, so it's only been a couple of weeks since we recorded last. Yeah, not a lot to report on those last couple of weeks. It's been very busy. I did watch that Squid Game.
Oh yeah,
that Netflix series, which seems to have taken off everywhere. Have you seen that?
I thought you were going to say documentary then. I said, I don't think it's a documentary.
It's not a documentary?
No, I haven't watched it yet. I mean, it not for any other reason than I just haven't.
Yeah. Well, no. To be honest, it wouldn't normally be the kind of thing I'd necessarily be overly interested in because someone told me about it. I saw an advert. I thought it seems to be about just a lot of people doing sort of bloody, gory games, basically. That particularly interests me. But then another friend who's also told me about it said it was really good, and we seem to have quite similar tastes. I thought, okay, I'll give it a go. And it was really different to, I think, what the advert presented it as. And yeah, I really enjoyed it, actually. It was very well thought out and really well written, I thought. Yeah, it's really, really, really good story. I won't say anything about it for sort of spoilers or anything like that in case you do watch it. But I did read, before I watched it, that there was some kind of controversy about the subtitles.
The English subtitling, I was about to say, that some of the subtlety is lost in the translation.
But I couldn't find anything that talked about the dubbed version. And you know me, John, I don't like to watch dubbed versions of anything, really. I'd much rather read subtitles. But I thought, you know what? maybe the dubbed version is just somebody literally reading the subtitles, or maybe it isn't. I wasn't sure. So I watched the dubbed version, and it was when I started watching it, it was quite jarring because the dubbing's not fantastic. You know how hard it is to dub because the sentence lengths are so different for a lot of the time. You know, so it's one of those, you know, like those old kung fu films where the dubbing's just crazy off. You know, and there was a few moments like that, but it didn't really deter from it too much. But yeah, I got about a third of the way through it, and I kind of regret doing the dubbing. But I've done it now. I'll just have to. I can't cope with the actors' voices changing all of a sudden, so I'll let myself down a bit there. I'm not going to lie.
That'd be too much for you to make a sudden change like that. What I thought you were going to say is that you watched the dub version with the subtitles on so that you could fact check it.
Yeah, I'll leave that to others. Squid Game, fact checked. It's full of facts. Yeah.
And does the squid win in the end?
I couldn't possibly tell you that. Come on. No, it's very. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I tried to be patient about it, watching like an episode a day or every couple of days, and then you have much more discipline about that kind of thing compared to me. You know, I end up binging it, and I did end up binging the last 3 or 4 episodes in pretty much one day.
Yeah,
when I should have been doing other things, so that was bad. But yeah, so this is why I don't watch too many TV shows. It will just. If I get hooked into it, I'll just one more episode. I want a classic binger.
Yeah.
So, you know, yeah, maybe it's better to watch things as they're released weekly if you can. But
yeah, but I think
all of them are.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think this one was released all in one go anyway, wasn't it?
Yeah.
See, but I'm a bit similar in this. I mean, I'm like you say, I'm quite good at just watching things. Like even if it's all released in one go, I'll just take my time to watch it. But as I get towards the end, that's when I struggle. It's like, well, now I just really want to know how it ends. If it's really taken hold of me, then it's like, okay, I will watch the last 2 or 3 in one hit. So I'm, you know,
that's okay.
I'm also guilty.
Then the last bit becomes like a movie.
Exactly.
I guess. Right. I use the word movie. Happens once in a while. How about yourself, John? What have you been up to?
Well, can I shock you?
I don't know. Well, there's only one way to find out.
Yesterday, or last night, I should say, I interacted with the outside world.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, I know.
How so? What were these circumstances?
Well, you may remember before the pandemic, it was a mere year and a half ago, and back then, one of my favourite things to do, genuinely, was to play poker. I mean, I love games in general, and I find that when I play board games around the table, just with my friends, I very, very rarely play competitively. It's just that I'm just there to have a good time, really. And then I get my competitive fix by sitting around the card table playing poker. And my local card room just started games again after being closed for the last year and a half. And I thought, well, do you know what? I cannot sit locked indoors for the rest of my life. So I plucked up courage and I headed there last night. But I must say, it was quite a shock to the system. For one, I was outside. 2, there were people there. And 3, I forgot how late these things start. I mean, these sort of games don't really get going until, well, the witching hour and beyond. So by the time I got home, I think it was about 3 a.m. And nowadays, I cannot sleep in the mornings anymore. I'm too old to sleep in. I'm at the age where it's morning, I'm getting up, I've got things to do, according to my body. So I'm operating on about 4 hours sleep. So today's recording might be a little bit.
But are you also recording on a wave of victory, or how did you get on?
Well, I often say that poker is the hardest way to make an easy living.
Right.
So it was. I came out on top. but I don't know.
It's a good place to be.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if my profit quite equals the whatever it was, 7 hours.
Yeah, your hourly rate wasn't.
But I did have a good time. It was very strange to be in a public place, and it was very strange to be close to that many people. But once I settled into it, it actually did feel quite refreshing, and I think I kind of missed it. I think.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. It's like I think I mentioned last time, going to a couple of gigs and things like that again after all this time. It's amazing how quickly you kind of settle back into it, because that's how it should be. Spending time with people and seeing others, and not being cooped up all the time, I guess. But yeah, that's good. So, and was it Texas Hold'em you play, right?
Yeah.
Because I think the first time I ever played Texas Hold'em was a couple of times I played with you, John. I'd always played. I'm not even sure what it's called. What's the one where you just get 5 cards and you have a round of betting, then you swap some and you have another round of betting?
It's draw. 5-card draw.
Well, there seems to be a bit more. There's probably way less nuance in it in terms of what's happening in terms of the actual cards. But there is. I think it seems there is a bit more reliance on bluff and just a bit more random elements. I think it suits me better. So I'm not very good.
No, I do remember spending your money.
Yes. That's when you bought your new house, isn't it? Yeah, I did not come out on top. I remember that.
You're always welcome. You're always welcome.
Yeah. Sucker.
So that was my big adventure, but so I do apologize if I'm a little bit sleepy and a little bit not on the ball as much as I usually am, which is not always that much anyway, but we'll see.
If we hear snoring, then I'll give you a virtual prod. That doesn't sound good. I'll shout and wake you up. There you
go. Okay, well, poker is not...
Speaking of card games...
I was going to say, well, poker is not the card game we're going to be discussing today, apart from we just discussed it. But we are going to be talking about Lord of the Rings, the card game, of course, and we are going to be back discussing some player cards after what seems like an eternity away.
Hooray. Yeah, it's been a while. We were stuck in the mines of Moria for an awfully long time, weren't we?
We certainly were, yeah. So we're going to start discussing player cards from the second cycle of the game, which is the Dwarrowdelf cycle, and we're going to break it down in the same way we did the Shadows of Mirkwood. So we're going to break the player cards into, obviously, the individual spheres, but then the first collection we're going to do is all the heroes and the neutral cards, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah. I'm very excited because there are 2 or 3 of my absolute favourite ever cards that we're going to cover today.
That is exciting.
Isn't it? I say favourite ever. I mean, I've maybe got the cards from 2 cycles anyway, maybe 3. So, I don't even know what the others are. But of ones I've seen so far, yeah.
That's fair enough. That's great. Should we just dive straight in?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Okay, well, I think we'll talk about them in the order they release. So the one that we got in the first AP. Shall I start?
Yeah, please. Go ahead. He says after having started. Please be my guest.
So the hero that we got in the first AP is... I need my glasses. Is going to be one of those episodes. Is Elrohir. Elrohir?
Is it a hard O? Elrohir? Elrohir.
It's Elrohir.
Hi, Elro.
And he's a hero, of course. And he has a threat cost of 10. He has willpower of 2. He hits for 2. He defends for 1. And he has 4 hit points. So, yeah, he's a pretty average hero in that respect. He is Noldor, noble, and a ranger. And he says this. It says, while Eladan is in play, Elrohir gets +2 defense. And he has a response. After Elrohir is declared as a defender, pay 1 resource from his resource pool to ready him. So, immediately, the question is, who is Eladan?
Exactly. You look through all the cards.
Now, Elrohir, I don't know if you remember, so Elrohir and Eladan are Elrond's sons, the twins. So they are, I don't think they're not featured in the films at all, I don't think. But...
I don't think so. Elrond's son sounds like a Pixie song. That's Nimrod's son.
But they're the twins. They're Arwen's brothers, and they get sent out by Elrond to scout ahead in front of the Fellowship. And actually, if memory serves, they join Aragorn and friends on in the paths of the dead. They are in that scene.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, because okay. Again, so it's been a long time since I read the book. I do remember, and I'm not sure if I am actually recalling it correctly, but the films did an amazing job in so many ways of bringing to life the things you'd read in the books, right? And for something which is so visually rich as that book is, I always thought it was pretty amazing how they translated it, because every person's going to have a slightly different view or even a very different view of what these things look like. And I think that generally they got things absolutely spot on. Or it's not even a right or wrong thing, just so it happened to really chime with how I thought of things. One thing, and I think because it is a bit of an abstract bit of the book, that Paths of the Dead bit, I really saw as quite different as to what we saw in the film. Mm. But I might be remembering wrong. I seem to remember wasn't there like a valley or something? And there was strange dwellings on hillsides and things like this. This is the image in my head, but I might be remembering it completely incorrectly. And the people who went on, like you say, there was a number of people. It wasn't. Yeah.
Well, the twins, they go. And I'm just reading Eladan's card now whilst you're talking, and there is actually a quote at the bottom of it, and it says, "Yes, the dead ride behind." Bit of a strange quote, but I think it does back it does back up.
Then Elrohir's quote is, "We will not turn back."
Mm.
So the dead ride behind, we will not turn back. I mean, why not? Well, the dead are back there.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good enough reason as any. So, yeah, I think so. But, so these are the twins. Now, we'll go back to the cards in a second, but I remember, because I didn't get these APs at the time of release, so I already had them on the shelf. So I remember opening up that first AP, seeing Elrohir and reading, while Eladan is in play, Elrohir gets +2 defense, and then immediately went and opened the next AP. Because I can only imagine what it must have been like to be buying these APs at the point of release and opening a brand new deck to receive a hero, which essentially is, well, I wouldn't say unplayable on his own, but you wouldn't play him. That's pretty much the definition of unplayable.
Well, wouldn't and can't is two slightly different.
Absolutely true.
He has got a response, though.
No, he does have the response. He has the response, like we said, that says, after Elrohir is declared as defender, pay 1 resource from his resource pool to ready him. But he only has defense of 1 until Eladan is in play.
Exactly.
So let's just jump to Eladan, shall we? So Eladan, so just to compare his stats with Elrohir, he also has a starting cost of 10. He also has willpower of 2. He hits for 1, whilst Elrohir hits for 2, and he defends for 2, whilst Elrohir defends for 1, and he has 4 hit points. So you can see that they complement each other in that respect. So one is a heavy defender, and one is a heavier hitter. So Eladan is also Noldor, Noble, and a Ranger. And it says, while Elrohir is in play, Eladan gets +2 attack. And then it's the same response. Response after Eladan is declared an attacker, pay 1 resource from his resource pool to ready him. So it's very easy to see that you do want both of these guys on the table at once. And when you do, it pushes their weaker statistic to become their higher statistic. So whilst Elro here has defensive 1, normally he'll get defensive 3 when Aladan is in play. And whilst Aladan has attack of 1, he'll get attack of 3 whilst Elro here is in play. Everyone's still with me?
Yeah. And with their response, some pretty useful stuff here. So after Eladan is declared an attacker, pay 1 resource from his resource pool to ready him. So if Elro here is in play as well, you've got this guy can attack for 3 on multiple occasions if you want to spend a resource to have the extra attack, basically. And same for Elro here in defending.
Yeah, absolutely. I did neglect to mention what spheres they're from. So Elro here, who is potentially your defender, is in leadership, and Eladan, who is potentially your attacker, it comes as no surprise, is in tactics. So actually, they really fall into their into the spheres that you would expect them to. One thing which is interesting to note, which I've only tried once or twice, is they have to be in play, but they don't have to be both controlled by the same player. So,
oh yeah, good point. That's a very good point.
Yeah. So that is a good way of doing it. If you don't want to build a tactics and leadership deck, you can just divide those heroes amongst the different players, and they'll both still boost each other.
Yeah, really good point. I hadn't thought of that actually. I did try this combination a couple of times, but I can't say I've really dived into it a lot. I think, to be honest with you, I think I've maybe only played 1 or 2 quests using both of these guys in my deck. But as ever, once you see them, when you look at it, you kind of think, "Oh yeah, I thought of some ways to to use these guys."
Yeah, I mean, if you can get Steward of Gondor on Elro here, for instance, exactly. Then you could essentially just, with all those resources, just keep defending with him. I mean, the defense of 3 with 4 hit points is pretty tasty.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and he's not, and he's decent, half decent attacker as well. So after all your defending's done, you can still ready him with using a resource and using to attack for 2. It's not nothing shoddy.
Yeah, very good.
So he's very flexible. I think Elra here, especially if you can get the Steward of Gondor involved, that's you're laughing, aren't you?
Yeah, and not too expensive to start as well. 10. It's not mega cheap in terms of sort of starting threat, but it's definitely, for you it wouldn't be a problem. Well, funny you say that, because we shall come to it shortly. Okay.
But yes, you're right. Yeah,
Okay, well, yeah. So, that's already 2 out of the way. But I mean, it does strike me straight. I don't know what the time gap was between the release of the first 2 APs from this cycle, but I think it's a pretty brave move on behalf of Fantasy Flight to put a card in, which, I mean, obviously it spoiled what the next hero was going to be. I mean, imagine if they didn't put it as the very next hero. They could have put it.
Yeah. in the 6th cycle. 2.5 years down the line, yeah.
But luckily, it's like I say, if you already have those APs on the shelf, then you want to definitely, if you want to use these guys, you definitely want to just open them up both straight away and get them both out. There's I see very little point in playing them individually.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, you might find some use out of for response, but yeah, like you say, just not having that extra 2 on the stats kind of...
Yeah. And then they become a bit expensive, actually, I think.
That's true. Yeah, that's true as well. Yep.
And I think maybe that's why they... I mean, not to put words into your mouth, but maybe that's why they didn't see much play for you in the past, is because if you're playing just solo, then that's 2 of your hero slots taken up. You're kind of then stuck with leadership and tactics, which is not the most elegant of dual spheres. So, I mean, it's definitely possible, don't get me wrong, but and then also maybe go for a trisphere. There's definitely many more options for using trispheres. Well, actually, I think coming up with some of the heroes
Yep.
in this
totally.
cycle. So maybe we'll circle back to that point.
We shall.
All right. Well, do you want to move on to the next one? I kind of hijacked the first two. We're motoring along.
Okay, so the next one is, well, this is the first time we see a hero repeated.
Ah.
And it is Aragorn. This time, he's not in leadership, he's in law. He's gone to law school. And his stats are, so he's still very expensive. So he's got a starting threat cost of 12. He quests for 2. He hits for 3. He defends for 2. And he's got 5 hit points. So some pretty meaty stats.
Now, are those stats, apart from his threat cost, are they the same as his original? Because
I think the threat cost is the same.
Oh, okay.
As well. In fact, I've got them right here.
Because it makes sense.
me have a
It would be. I think it would be very strange to have a repeated hero that, for some reason, in a different sphere, could hit for more, for instance, or defend for more.
I think that happens eventually.
Ooh, interesting. To be discussed.
Or might be getting it. Yeah, to be discussed. You know what my memory's like. Okay, so Aragorn, who is the very first hero you see in the core set, has exactly the same. So he starts with 12, 2, 3, 2, and 5 hit points.
Okay.
Now, the original card, which is a leadership card, has got traits of Dunedain, Noble, and Ranger. This Aragorn we see here is Dunedain and Ranger.
Not so noble anymore.
He's not noble. Well, I think this is really probably Strider. Rather than Aragorn, right?
Strider.
Strider. One of them ranger folk.
Yeah, but judging by the artwork, which, by the way, I absolutely adore. Yeah, this is Strider. This is the Aragorn that we meet in the prancing pony, isn't it?
That's where he is right now, keeping an eye out on the hobbits messing around.
Looks like he's got himself a pint.
It comes in pints. Just like honey. He's a Dunedain ranger, and he has Sentinel, and he has a refresh action, which is reduce your threat to your starting threat level, limit once per game. Now, you can imagine, this one reminds me a little bit of the Boromir bomb, but for your threat level. So, I mean, how hugely useful is that when you think about it?
Oh, it's amazing.
I mean, you can be up 49 threat, everything's against you, everyone's engaging you every time, and suddenly you drop back down to, well, you drop down to about 27, I drop down to about 41. But that's what's one of those that limit once per game. You do it once, reduces everything. Not everything, just your threat, obviously. Reduce it, all of the threat that you've gained so far, back to the original. So, yeah, you can straight away you see how useful that one is.
No, I love this because Aragorn, his stats are really strong. Just as a card, as a hero, he's great without any sort of action whatsoever. So the fact that he doesn't really have an action here apart from this one bomb, as you call it, is for me it's perfect. It's fantastic. I find this Aragorn. I really like the Aragorn from the core set, but I find this Aragorn just wipes him out.
What can the first Aragorn do? Is you pay a resource to refresh him after questing or something?
You pay a resource to refresh him. Yeah, is that right?
Hold on.
Yeah,
I should have just kept it out.
keep it out.
Response. Oh, he's got Sentinel too. Okay.
Yeah.
So response after Aragorn commits to a quest.
Yeah. Okay.
Spend one resource from his resource pool to ready him.
Yeah.
Okay. That was
Which is good, but I think we have so many other ways to ready heroes at this stage that this Aragorn is. I just love this Aragorn. All right.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, you're right. I think the first Aragorn is really useful for those first quests.
Absolutely.
Before you've got all those cards, and all the way through, well, all the way up to this point in the game, I'd say probably. But we're getting to that point now where, you do start. Well, we've seen some already. There are even a couple in the core set, I guess, things like Unexpected Courage. But yeah, it gets to the point now where, you're right. There are so many other ways to do it. Of course, it could depend on the sphere you want to play as well.
Yeah, of course.
So this Aragorn is a lore Aragorn. Yeah, like you, I find him a pretty useful guy to use. Again, for those quests where your threat's going to be a real, threat to your winning. Obviously, he's a strong contender to include.
Yeah, fantastic. And I just can't get over the artwork. I'm just looking at it. I'm trying to listen to you, but I'm just looking at this artwork. It's just who is this one by? Let's have a look. This is by
Tony Foti.
Tony Foti.
Well done. That's a fantastic name. Well done, Tony Foti. He has done the business here. So what's Tony's capture? For me, this says like some of the strongest memory and imagery I got from Lord of the Rings was that kind of autumnal feel. Well, that period of autumn, which we're almost at now here actually, is that when there's almost like a little bit of magic in the air. The summer's gone. Yeah. It's before winter's really started. Everything's turning and changing, and those lovely autumnal colours, the browns and the deep greens and all of this. And also, you imagine being in that part of the year, but you're sitting in the pub.
I was going to say
next to the fire.
It's all about being in the pub, isn't it?
And and you've got a nice brew. In fact, has he got a couple of brews on the go? He's got a hot drink on the go and a pint ready for it.
No, that's his pipe, surely, isn't it?
Well, what's that long? Is that the pipe?
That's the pipe.
That's a big pipe.
He's a big man.
Well, hold on. But that thing's not going into his mouth. Okay, maybe he's not puffing it at that very moment. But it's quite bendy.
It is
isn't it?
It's a bent spout, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. It is a pub. A pub. You're right. A pipe.
You got pubs on the brain, you have?
That's definitely a pub.
Okay. Confirmed, it's a pub.
Yeah, he's not drinking an espresso before he has his beer. Okay, I like this even more now. Yeah. These are the days before the smoking ban.
Obviously, yeah.
He's allowed to smoke.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir, you're not allowed to smoke in here. No, yeah, well done, Tony Foti.
Tony Foti. Yeah, love it. Okay, so that's Aragorn. And how did you feel when you were opening up these packs? And really relatively close to the start of the game, we were already getting repeats of heroes.
Well, because I wasn't expecting it at all, I in no way felt, they're going over old ground already. I actually just thought, okay, I see how this works. You get the characters at different points maybe in their lives with slightly different traits and can do different things. And I kind of really loved that idea straight away, actually.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really quite exciting to see. And it did get me thinking, well, what are they going to do with some of the other characters as well? Will we see them get, sort of remade in the future?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was my view. And also, don't forget, I had no experience of playing similar card games to this, so I don't know if there's some kind of norm to this kind of thing out there in the card game world. But I thought it was cool. I mean, I don't know. What did you think?
No, I agree. I mean, I was very excited to see it because, like, exactly what you just said is that we have these defined spheres, which you like. Tactics is very obviously the attacking sphere, and lore is it's the knowledge, the sphere of knowledge, and like you say, a lot of these characters fall into these different spheres of influence. So it was very interesting to see, like, exactly what you said. Okay, yeah, so we are going to get probably a tactics Aragorn at some point as well, perhaps, and they aren't going to be just pigeonholed into this is their sphere of influence. But bear in mind, and obviously you were in the same situation, I came into this game quite late where there were already tons and tons and tons of APs released. So when I saw Aragorn again, it wasn't like, I was thinking, oh, that's a bit cheap. I'm already seeing a repeat of a hero, because I knew I had 20, 30 more heroes to come my way just by opening up some more boxes. So again, I have no idea what the sort of thoughts of what people would have been like if they were buying these things at the point of release, because maybe they would feel a bit cheated, because this is only our, just off the top of my head, we have 4, 6, roughly 15th
12,
hero.
34, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it was 15th. Yeah.
Really? That's impressive. If I just pluck that number, that's I
Oh no, hold on. You get loads more in the core set. You get 12 in the core set, don't you?
Do you get 12? Get 12?
You get
heroes?
free from each sphere.
You're absolutely right. Of course you do.
Yeah, so that's 12.
12
and then
plus
another
6.
So that's 18. Plus your 3,
Plus
21.
Plus 2 from the...
Oh, was there only 2 in there?
2 in Casa Doom.
So 22. So it's 25th. It's your 25th hero.
Okay, so actually...
That's not that bad.
No, if you
It's
put
the
it
first one.
if you put it like that, then people had no right to complain.
Yeah, get a grip. 1 every 25? That's not that bad.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, if you think about it from the game perspective, because obviously they're unique, the heroes.
Yeah.
All it means is you can't play this Aragorn with the other Aragorn. But, from a game perspective, it's a different hero. So,
yeah.
It's, I don't know. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I thought it was very cool as well. Alrighty. So, that was Aragorn. And then, next up, we got a tactics hero. And this is Hammer. Hammer time.
It is Hammer time.
And as I say, he's a tactics hero, and he has a starting threat of 9. He has willpower for 1. He hits for 3. Yep, we're definitely in tactics. He has defense of 1 and 4 hit points. He is a Rohan warrior, and it is nice to see Rohan getting a bit of tactics love here, because Rohan was very much in the spirit sphere in the previous cycle, and of course, the Rohirrim, they know how to put up a fight. So
they're tough. Yeah.
So it was very welcoming to see a tactics hero in Rohan here. So he has a response, and it says, after Hammer is declared an attacker, return a tactics event from your discard pile to your hand, and then choose and discard 1 card from your hand. Limit 3 times per game for the group. Now this card was errated. This is the errated version. The errata was they added that limit 3 times per game for the group.
What was it before?
It just wasn't there.
Oh, but there was no limit.
No, so basically it stands to reason why they did it, because it's
Just keep doing the same card over.
very, very easy to get into like a hammer loop. No, for instance, if you had a feint, let's say you used a feint to stop an enemy attacking, that goes to your discard pile, you could then declare Hammer the attacker, and then you could return that feint back to your hand, and then you could just keep on going, and then that
you never get attacked.
that you'll never get. In fact, what's the
There's one where it stops all of them.
stops all? Yeah, what's that? It's the one which has the crazy.
It costs 3 though to play,
Yeah,
doesn't
but it costs 3, but you have to use a resource from every hero or something, which makes it almost
right.
impossible to play.
You have to have a full. Yeah, that was the one I did loads of cheating on. The first cheating.
But then, so as you can see that, now I do also remember when this was errated, I think Caleb Grace stated that he felt it needed errataing, if that's a word, but he felt the same as I did, that it's a little, for want of a better word, clunky how it's done. It's not elegant that it's 3 times per game for the group, because 3 times per game we don't have any way of sort of marking that, so you have to kind of remember how many times it's been done. I mean, it's not impossible. I mean, what I would do is put a put a progress token on him or something.
But
So
you mean just to measure how many times? Yeah, for sure.
and
Yeah,
I think this is the only hero or the only card which has this sort of, it's not elegant that it was, and the game designers admitted that it wasn't elegant, but I think they probably went round in circles trying to find the best way of doing it, because you don't want to limit it once per limiting it once per round wouldn't do any good, because you would just still keep the loops going. Limiting it once per game is too limited. So
there's something I don't get about this. Why does it say limit 3 times per game for the group? Because it says, after Hammer is declared an attacker, return a tactics event from your discard pile to your hand. Then choose and discard 1 card from your hand. When would it ever be able to be played on your part? You know, what's it got to do with a group?
Limit.
It should just say limit 3 times per game.
Limit 3 times per game for the group.
The group being all the players.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, because you can't have more than one copy of it, can you? So
no.
It's a very good question, which I have no answer for.
Yeah.
It should be just limit. Yeah. Why would it say
3
that?
times per game. Damn. Maybe one of our listeners can answer this riddle for us.
What's in my
We
pocket?
do love a riddle. Okay.
But he's good. I mean, actually, I haven't played him that often. I think I tested him when I first saw him and went, oh yeah, that's quite fun. And I think maybe I kind of got caught up in all the tales of the errata and how this card has been completely
Tales of the Errata. Tolkien's Tales of the Errata. It's a massive volume.
and how this card had been sort of too heavily
modified.
It's like too heavily
errata,
too heavily. Like they're just.
It went from being an extremely powerful card to something that's fairly useful.
Yeah, exactly. And then you sort of go, oh, I kind of wish I could play it when it was super powerful. But then it's for me, it's not fun to play sort of what in card games we would call like sort of infinite loops. You know, where you can just keep repeating the same thing over and over again until you win the game. You know, it's like, okay, yeah, you won. Well done. But it's
big deal.
Yeah. To me, that's not enjoyable. I mean, sometimes it's fun to get these combos going if you really get like a series of cards that really bounce off each other. And if you can do that a couple of times, yeah, sure, I get that. Like, but when it's kind of an easy win like this, I just bounce faint backwards and forwards from my discard pile by using Hammer. To me, that's just a bit dull. But actually, I also think 3 times per game is pretty useful.
It's still pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
Because I was just thinking then, I wonder if they could have done something like you can't use it 2 rounds in a row or something like this. But actually, 3 times that sounds fairly sensible, actually. Because that is a useful ability. Yeah, I've got to admit, I've played Hammer like once. Ever, I think. So I can't really speak from... I think so. Eladan, Elrahir and Hammer, I've played probably in a combined total of 3 quests or something. But... I'm just thinking, but I am thinking about some other quests now, which are quite fighty.
Yeah.
Thinking it could be useful, you know.
Well, I'm thinking, like, let's just look at, I mean, there are plenty of tactics events, of course, which would be useful to play more than once. But let's say you are just looking at the sort of the feint option, because that's the one which just sort of jumps into mind. If you've got a really nasty, sort of, I don't know, a troll or something, which is engaged with you and it's going to cause you trouble, and you can feint it once, and then you just use your 3 hammer attacks. That doesn't sound good. To get that feint out, those 3 rounds of stopping that troll attacking should more often than not be enough for you to be able to take it out without it completely decimating your ranks. So yeah, I like him. I'm gonna revisit Hammer.
Yes, like we always do after we review these heroes.
It is time for Hammer time.
Yes. Or You could just say it's hammer time, but yeah. Okay. I wonder if it's pronounced. Now the A has an accent over it. So if it's like Hammer or
Hammer.
Hammer or something.
I think it's Hammer.
Hammer.
Hammer. He is in the films, isn't he? He's the very rotund Rohirrim.
Rotundarim. Which one? Which one?
Oh, I've already described him. He has a beard.
And rides a horse. Has long hair. I can't remember him in the film. Was he the guy who goes upon order of?
Yes, he does.
And then looks down and disappointed with a massive delay. And there's Grima Wormtongue. That guy. Is that Hammer?
Oh, I thought you were going to say by order of the king. You must like the women and children have to leave. He's the one who goes and tells the villagers they have to leave, and he goes, "Pack up your troubles, pack up your wagons.
We're off.
Women and children."
One of them. Okay, I'm getting my Rohirrim mixed up now. One of them. Oh, is he the guy who gets taken out in a warg attack?
Potentially.
Okay, we had this conversation before about what do you call the guy who looks after the king?
Is this a joke? Oh, not him again. No, but that's
hold on.
That's gambling, isn't it?
No, gambling's the one later because there's one of them, the guy who goes on order of.
Yeah, that's Hammer.
Grima Wormtongue. That's him. But then he gets taken out by the wargs because later on, it's the other guy who's slightly thinner than him, or is thinner than him, is taller, also got a beard and long hair,
and rides a horse.
And he's putting on the king's armor for him.
Yeah,
and he goes. Yeah. Who am I gambling? You know, all that.
I love
or our king sire. It's that guy.
Yeah.
That's not Hammer. If Hammer's the other guy, because that guy's got taken out. That's gambling.
That's gambling.
So that one's gambling. The rotund one is Hammer, and Hammer got taken out by the wargs in the film.
In the film.
I can't remember what happened to him in the book.
No, I think he dies in the book at Helm's Deep. But that's an easy thing for me to say, isn't it? When did this?
It's only an extra day.
Yeah. When did this Rohirrim die? I don't know. Helm's Deep. Pretty safe bet.
Yeah, hedging your bets, sir. So poor Hammer.
But yeah, this artwork he looks a lot more of a sort of heroic fighter in this, unless I'm completely mixing up the guy from the film, but I think Hammer in the film is rotund with a beard by order of the king.
By order of the king, eat this cake. Hammer is not rotund. Like you say, looks very heroic. He's got is that braided hair behind his ear?
Oh, yeah.
Just noticed that for the first time. Nice touch. He's done this. Oh, look who it is. Everybody. It's Madame Villeneuve.
Oh.
A favourite of this podcast.
Very much so.
But yeah, more fantastic work from her. She's very good, isn't she?
She's very good. What is that? There's like a little splash of blood or something. Yeah. Is that just on the camera lens?
In fact, I think he's just cut through something because there's a little bit. If you look to the right next to his head, there's some there, and if you look on his chest as well, not his chest, on his belly, just underneath, there's some there. I wonder whether that's blood flying through the air at that instant he struck.
He's just taken something out right there.
Yeah, like standing right next to you.
Yeah. Very nice. But yeah, I am going to play Hammer. I think there's definitely some interesting decks that we can make with this guy. Okay.
You do that. I'm making no promises after all the promises I've made in the previous episodes. There have been some when I've gone back and revisited, but I've said that. The amount of times I've said that, I've probably gone back and actually done it maybe like 50% of the time. So.
No, but I think, wouldn't it be, because like I said before, all the Rohan cards that we discussed from the last cycle were all spirit. So if we can make a spirit and tactics deck, but still a Rohan based with
That's true. Because most of those spirit cards affect Rohan characters, don't they? Which
Exactly,
would obviously still include him. So, yeah. And I did greatly enjoy using that Rohan deck.
yeah.
That was real fun.
Yeah, that was great. So, as we know, Spirit is not that great for sort of attacking, but it is terrific for questing. So I think that could be a great combination. I mean, I don't know who all the heroes would be. I mean, obviously you're gonna take Eowyn, aren't you? You don't make a Spirit deck, especially a Rohan one, without Eowyn.
She's just a no-brainer, isn't she?
That's a bit rude.
You just quest, don't think about anything else. Then you got, what was it, Dunhir and Thairdred.
Oh, yeah.
The others.
Yeah.
And I'm Dunhir's a favourite
great.
of mine.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Okay, maybe Rohan's coming back. All right. Well, okay, yeah, so that's Hammer. Do you want to do the next one?
Yeah, so now we're coming to, say, the two heroes left are possibly my two favourites that we've seen so far.
I was wondering when we were going to get to your favourites, because so far you've told me you've not really played any of them.
Yeah. Severely biased to these things. Okay. So the next one released is another one we've seen before.
Yes.
And it's Glorfindel. This time it was lore before, but this is the Spirit version. And yeah, I mean, this guy, unbelievable. He has a starting threat of 5, a mere 5.
Oh yeah,
so cheap.
Yeah, but this is the thing, isn't it? Because Glorfindel from the core set had the most ridiculously high starting threat.
He was 12.
Oh,
so difference of 7.
Look at you.
I know because I got to make sure I got the other Glorfindel. I've got it in front of me. That's how I can remember. Now, the rest of their stats are the same. So he quests for 3, he attacks for 3, defends only for 1, but has 5 hit points. So apart from the shield, that is some meaty stats again here. Very powerful.
For the cost of 5, that's the lowest starting threat, I think, of any hero we've had so far.
I think so. And he has the same traits as the other Glorfindel, his Noldor noble warrior. What the other Glorfindel did was you could pay a resource from his pool to heal a damage on any character once around. So he doesn't have that anymore, but what he does have, forced, after Glorfindel exhausts to commit to a quest, raise your threat by 1. So with one hand giveth, with the other taketh away. So is that an expression? Don't know. And so so you can see straight, okay, so he's got 5 threat. You quest this guy, 7 times, and that's back to what he would have been to start. So actually, 7, that's quite a lot of rounds, but he does quest for 3. So you think, that's a lot to be losing out on one of your heroes. Yeah. He does hit for 3 as well. However, there are some other cards which come later in the cycle as well, which combine. Well, I say later, actually.
I think that the card you're thinking of comes in this set. With
it probably does.
Do you want to jump to it? I know we wouldn't normally do this because we would talk about the other cards later, but I think there is a card which basically goes hand in hand with this Glorfindel, and I think it would be silly to not mention it.
Okay, and we will cover this one again.
Yeah.
But so we'll just mention it quickly. So the one I'm thinking of is a spirit card called Light of Valinor, which costs 1. By the way, there is yet another card, which is amazing for this guy too. But Light of Valinor costs 1, and it's a condition attachment, which says, attached to a Noldor or Sylvan hero, Glorfindel's Noldor, and it says, attached hero does not exhaust to commit to a quest.
Yeah.
Obviously, Glorfindel has his force effect to exhaust. When he exhausts to commit to a quest, raise your threat by 1. And it suddenly disappears if you have Light of Valinor in play for only a cost of 1.
It's perfect. It's perfect. I mean, if you're going to play Glorfindel, you need to be playing Light of Valinor. And what I tend to do when I play these guys is I think Light of Valinor is unique as well, though, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So you can't have one on one here and one on another. Yeah.
But I do tend to put 3 of them in a deck because it is a vital card if you want to play the Glorfindel, I think. And if you put 3 in your deck, chances are you'll get it in your starting hand, and if you don't, you'll get it in your mulliganed starting hand. And if you don't then you're just unlucky, but chances are you will. And then Glorfindel is just an absolute beast because he's basically committing 3 willpower to the quest every single round without exhausting, and his forced effect doesn't apply, of course.
Yeah. And it's not just for that reason. It's not just because he has a low cost and you can use the Light of Valinor. His stats are obviously
They're
great.
Insane. It's crazy.
And just to have that starting threat leads very nicely into something we're going to come across very shortly in this episode as well.
Oh, you little tease.
Oh, little tease.
Yeah, he's amazing. And I think suddenly, because Glorfindel is a great character. I mean, he's Slayer Balrog, didn't he? I think in history, Glorfindel was he was one of the few elves to face a Balrog and defeat it.
Exactly. I mean, eat your heart out, Gandalf.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Gandalf got killed dead.
Yeah, he had to go through. He fell through fire and death. Glorfindel, didn't he? Just took him out.
Took him out. Easy. No, but I think because Glorfindel is such a great hero from the books, and
yeah,
I think his initial core set card did not do him justice. And of course, it didn't get played enough because it was such a high starting threat with not a particularly great effect. I mean, the effect on this Glorfindel is actually worse. It's a negative effect. But as we've just discussed, there's a very, very simple way of getting around that. Is he overpowered with Light of Valinor? Maybe. But I love him.
Well, I've got to admit, I always struggle with the whole thing of overpowered generally. I'm not quite... It doesn't really chime with me as a concept. Because it's like... I've not come across anything which... think, oh, you do this and that, and therefore you win the game.
No, absolutely.
The quests are so varied,
yeah, and
there's so many variables within them anyway. Plus, it's what you enjoy doing as well. Like you said earlier, if for example, Hammer, you could there's a couple of quests there which you could just do that thing on repeat and win it. I don't think I've really come across that at all in this game, but that might just be me being a bit thick and not realising.
No. There's very few things in this game which you can just do to win.
Yeah.
Mostly you'll do things and lose.
Correct.
No, but even if he is overpowered, I don't care. I love him. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
He's
one of my absolute faves.
Insanely useful card. So that leads us on to the last hero, which is another big guy.
Here he is at last.
So we have got the father of the twins, the father of Arwen. It is Elrond himself, and he is a lore hero. And he has in stark contrast, he has a starting threat of 13.
Mahusive. This is the biggest one we've seen so far, right?
Yeah, it must be. It has to be. So what do we get for that high cost? We get willpower of 3. He hits for 2, he defends for 3, and he has 4 hit points. Okay, so you are getting quite some stats there for that cost. He is Noldor, of course, and noble, and he has the following effect. It says, you may spend resources from Elrond's resource pool to pay for spirit, leadership, and tactics allies. So that in itself is already pretty tasty. So obviously Elrond himself is lore, so with his resources, you can use those resources to pay for any allies, basically, in the game. And he also has a response. It says, response, after a character is healed by another card effect, heal 1 damage on it. So yeah, so basically what that means is if you heal 1 damage by playing an event with Elrond's response, you can then take another damage off of that character. Yeah. Expensive, but insanely useful. Going back to what I said at the beginning when we started talking about his sons, about potentially putting a Trisphere deck together with these cards. I mean, this is your linchpin right here. If you have Elrond there, and then if you have 1 leadership hero to allow yourself to pay for Steward of Gondor, get Steward of Gondor onto Elrond. Okay, it's mucking up the mythology a little bit, But a rich Elrond paying for all your allies is a welcome sight.
Oh, yeah. There are other ways to get resource, which we're about to come to as well. But yeah, this guy is... So, like I said, Glorfindel and Elrond are possibly my two favourite heroes we've come across so far. I mean, he's so immensely powerful and is about to get more powerful in a second as well. So, yeah, I mean, this guy can pay for allies from any sphere.
Yeah.
That is amazing. But his response is incredible. After a character is healed by another card effect, heal 1 damage on it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
terrific.
incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, Elrond is... Yeah, And like I say, he's about to get even better.
Well, these are both Noldor characters, and we're soon to see cards which specifically target Noldor in this cycle. So to play Glorfindel and Elrond together, suddenly Elrond's cost of 13 doesn't seem so bad anymore because you're only adding another 5 with Glorfindel. So it really balances itself out in that respect if you play these two together, which I don't think is that uncommon.
Well, so, yeah. Is playing these two together and only these two together.
Oh, you are a little tease today.
Yeah. We're almost at the point where I can talk about it. Okay.
Let's talk about it. What are you talking about? So those are all the heroes. Before you tell me what you're talking about, those are all the heroes, and it is an exciting and varied bunch. But what I do find is very interesting is there's not a dwarf in sight.
True.
Which is very interesting, as we are still very much in that Dwarrowdelf cycle, which is all about Khazad-dûm and the mountains around that area. And as you're well aware, we have spent the time in the mines, we've taken our dwarf decks through them, and that will continue. But the heroes that they supply with this cycle, the dwarfs are dropped.
Yeah.
But I think we'll see that they don't turn their back on the dwarfs completely when you start to see some of the player cards that we also get in the cycle. But it is interesting what heroes they decided to release, in these APs.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what I found was it was around this time where the ways you could play the game, for me, really started to open up. So you've gone through the core set, you've been through an entire cycle, you've gone through the first deluxe. And actually, well, I say now, it's probably towards the end of this cycle, actually, where things really started to open up, and because you have to get all of these cards, obviously. But yeah, so should we touch on the...
Yeah, so we're also going to discuss the neutral cards that we get with this cycle. And I think, should we just do... Because I think you've teased long enough, so we won't necessarily do it in order. Let's just jump to what you have been going on about so that we can put our listener out of their misery.
Okay, so there are 4 neutral cards you get in the cycle. One of them is Resourceful. Okay, and it costs 4. And it's an attachment that's expensive. It says Secrecy 3.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what does that mean? Then it says attached to a hero you control. Attached hero collects 1 additional resource during the resource phase each round. So this is like a mini Steward of Gondor.
Yeah. But a very expensive
But it costs 4.
Very expensive.
Yeah, very expensive. So what does Secrecy 3 mean? Well, do you know what I've got here, John?
Is it an insert?
It's an insert sheet, and it's from the first the first AP in the cycle, which is called the Redhorn Gate, but we'll come on to that in a future. In fact, maybe the next episode. Okay. I won't read anything from this apart from the bit where it talks about secrecy. And it's very short, actually. And it says Secrecy X in inverted commas, keyword. Secrecy, the X obviously being the number. We saw in Resourceful, it said Secrecy 3. It says, Secrecy is a new keyword introduced on player cards in the Dwarrowdelf cycle. Secrecy lowers the cost to play the card by the specified value, provided the threat of the player who is playing the card is 20 or below.
Okay.
Secrecy only applies when the card is played from hand and never modifies the printed cost of the card. Okay, so that's more the nuances of playing the game. But what it's really saying then is, so Secrecy lowers the cost to play the card by the specified value, provided the threat of a player who's playing the card is 20 or below. So resourceful costs 4, unless because it's got a secrecy value, if your threat is 20 or less, then you can deduct whatever the secrecy is. So this says secrecy 3. So if your threat is 20 or less, this will actually cost you 1 rather than 4 to play.
Just the one.
Just the one. Just the one, Mrs. Wembley. So having a threat of 20 or less that's quite tricky, right?
It is for you.
It is for me. Well, this is where my whole world turned around. Because I always loved the Galadriel's Greeting.
Yeah.
So I never minded starting with a threat high, but I always got very wary about reducing it. So So then it got me thinking, okay, so you've got 3 heroes out. How are you going to get that to anywhere where you kind of can manage? You've got to get a couple of those out early, I guess, and what else can you do? Or do you just pick very low threat heroes to start with? And then I thought, why not just play with 2 heroes?
Yeah.
And this all feeds into what I was talking about earlier. So Elrond and Glorfindel, I'm sure other people have done this as well, but Elrond and Glorfindel, to me, combined with secrecy, so you have a starting threat of, Elrond's got 13, Glorfindel's a 5.
Yeah.
So that's 18. So already you're below that threshold. And you know that I'm not a big fighter, generally speaking, when it comes to the game.
You're a lover, not a fighter.
Exactly, yeah. So suddenly, this game kind of became about, can we control the threats? We'll dive into what the other secrecy elements are as we go on through this cycle as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's called secrecy. So why is it called secrecy? And this is where the theming comes in, because you're tiptoeing around, you're using magic or stealth or whatever you're doing, and you're avoiding these confrontations because your threat's low. You're not engaging certain enemies.
Exactly.
So it really opened up a different way to get through some of these quests and play the game, which I really, really enjoyed, actually.
Yeah.
This is probably where it really took my enjoyment of the game to another level. But yeah, I guess we won't dive too much into the secrecy elements right now, because we will see them in the different quests.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was really a time where you could really see the whole different experiences you can have doing the same quest using different methods.
Yeah, absolutely.
Much more. You saw it a bit before, but you see it even more so now.
Yeah.
With secrecy, and it really appealed to me, actually. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the whole secrecy.
Yeah, I mean, we will discuss this more, of course, as we see more and more player cards. But I would say, so your theory is sound, of course. Elrond was starting for a 13 and Glorfindel with 5 means obviously your starting threat is 18. So you do kind of really want to see those secrecy cards in your starting hand, because it's not going to take you long to get above 20 or have a way of reducing your threat, of course.
Yeah. Well, I can talk, maybe towards the end of the cycle, I can talk about a specific deck which I put together for, well, not a specific deck, variations on a theme, if you like, that really worked with these 2. You're going to hate it, John, because there's one deck I think had 85 cards in it.
Oh my god, that sounds amazing. Well, no, but perhaps what we'll do, we'll do a maybe like a secrecy special or something. We'll do something like that we will discuss, because I think it is a very interesting and, like I say, a different way of approaching the game, and it's a completely different way of looking at that. Like I say, it's like stealthily moving through. So rather than just high threat and therefore the eyes of the enemy are always on you, and therefore they're always engaging you, doing it this way, you move through, avoiding conflict, like you say. One other thing that just sort of popped into my head, of course, is that doing, again, a 2-hero... what am I trying to say?
Deck?
Yeah. So doing so you could play Glorfindel and Aragorn, this new law Aragorn, and that would give you a starting threat of 17. I mean, I don't really know what other cards you'd be playing, but what that would allow you to do is, if you were gathering secrecy cards throughout that, once you wanted to play them all out, you could at that point lower your threat back down to 17 using Aragorn's ability, and then suddenly you'd be below 20 again to play out those secrecy cards.
Yep, totally. Yep.
Oh, yeah. We'll definitely do something on secrecy. It's fun. It's an interesting one. Okay, so that was
resourceful,
wasn't it? I've just lost my cards. Hang on. Okay, and there is one other neutral card which also ties in directly with these heroes. Should we jump to that one straight away?
Yes, please. I love this card.
Okay. So this is Villia, and it's a unique neutral attachment. It is. Sorry, I'm having a little laugh to myself because someone wrote to us on the Board Game Geek forums saying that we often referred to the italicized words at the top of the cards as the sort of type of card. For instance, this is attachment and it's a ring, an artifact. And he quite correctly stated that actually in the rules that classification is actually the trait. Okay, that's just how Fantasy Flight classify that thing. But I love the idea that the Villia has the traits of a ring.
And the traits of an artifact. It isn't an artifact.
No.
It's just a trait it's got.
It has the it is circular with a hole in the middle, which has all the traits of a ring.
It's like Hammer has the trait of a Rohan. He's not Rohan. He isn't from Rohan. He's just got the traits of someone. He's got the beard. He's got the long hair. He's into rock music.
Exactly. No, but like I say, it's absolutely not wrong. That is indeed what these are the traits. And you see cards. We see like Steward of Gondor, for instance, gives the Gondor trait to whoever it is attached to. So it is referred to as traits, and we will try and do that going forward. But I do, as I mentioned in the forums, I do think maybe their definition of the word trait is sometimes a little bit pushed to the edge when it's an item, for instance. All the traits
That's
of an
my
item.
favourite.
Okay, but I digress. So Villia, it's a unique attachment, and it has all the traits of a ring and an artifact. It costs 2, and it states the following. Attached to Elrond. Aha, here we go. And he gains the spirit resource icon. Oh, so I know why you love this, because you love spirit.
I do, but that's not the main reason I love this.
Okay.
That is one reason I love it.
Okay, it has an action. Exhaust Elrond and Villia to reveal the top card of your deck. You can immediately play or put into play the revealed card for no cost if able. Otherwise, move the revealed card to the bottom of your deck. Oh boy. It's a free card. It's wonderful.
It's amazing. And once you start combining it with other things...
I was going to say...
Honestly...
we are being very teasy today, but there are some... We know what cards are coming. I mean, the Dwarrowdelf cycle of cards really... I mean, you've already said it. It really opens up the world of this game of how you can play it. There are lots of different... Obviously, lots of different cards, but there are lots of different aspects of the game that get opened up. Lots of different ways of looking at your deck, looking at the encounters deck. Lots of playing cards from here, playing cards from there, and then suddenly you start to see many, many more combinations of cards that start working together. So, for instance, I think what we're alluding to here, and I was kind of gave it away there, that if you could manipulate what card is coming off the top of your deck, and then you exhaust Elrond and Villia, and to bring that card directly into play, it can be devastating. In a good way.
Yeah. Absolutely.
In a good way.
Yeah. No, I love this card. I also love the artwork on this. I mean, Elrond showing off his harpist skills here, I think.
Yeah, he's making sure the ring is in sight, though. It's a little bit show-offy, isn't it? Just
Don't do the picture from that side. Come over to my left side.
Yeah. Have you seen my ring?
It said, but no. Okay. Okay. Question about this card, just for clarification.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives Elrond a spirit resource. So at this point, regardless of the action of Villia, at this point, this means that Elrond can pay for allies from any sphere.
Yes.
And can also play attachments and events from the spirit sphere, as well as Valor, which is his own spirit.
Yeah.
Okay. Part of the action, it says, reveal the top card of the deck. You can immediately play or put into play the revealed card for no cost, if able. Otherwise, move a revealed card to the bottom of your deck. Now, what if that was, say, a tactics event?
That's fine.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
what this card lets you do is basically play pretty much any card of any sphere, as long as it's not an event which makes no sense or an attachment which you can't attach to somebody for some reason.
Yeah.
That's what it opens up. So using if you can get Vilya on Elrond, you can put in your deck
anything,
basically.
Yeah. I mean, you'd have to be a little bit wary that, of course, you have to be able to manipulate your own deck to really make it work, because there's a chance that if, for instance, you've got, I don't know, tactic events and you don't have any tactics heroes or any way of paying for tactics events, no songs or anything like that, and you just happen to get them into your hand, then it's a little bit wasteful. It's the opposite of resourceful.
Correct. But you can see why somebody with my mindset, you can end up with an 85 card deck. It might have even been more, It might have been in the 90s. I can't remember. It was massive.
I cannot wait. That's amazing.
The other thing... let's cross it when we come there, because, I can bang on all day about this. Okay, so when at the beginning, I was talking about some of my favourite cards we've seen so far. They're the ones. It's basically Glorfindel, Elrond. Resourceful, because it represents secrecy, and there's another way to get resource, which I like.
Yeah.
And Vilya. I think those 4 cards are very, spectacularly good, really, for me.
Yeah, no, they're fantastic. I'm just going to jump back to resourceful, not for any other reason than to comment on the artwork, because I'm not... Maybe you can... You're an art lover. I mean, I like the artwork, don't get me wrong, but I'm not too sure why it's resourceful. I mean, just to describe it, there's a man with a beard. It could be a dwarf. I think it probably is a dwarf.
That's a dwarf, yeah.
And he's strung up, well, a rabbit or a hare,
coney.
Perhaps. Could be a coney. And he's about to gut it or skin it or something, or maybe cut it down, which is fine. We've all got to eat.
Well, he's being resourceful. He's found food in the forest.
Found it.
For them to eat. Yeah.
Found it strung up to a tree.
Well, maybe he strung it up there so he can gut it properly and let the blood drain out. Have you never gutted an animal before? You got to let that blood drain out before. It's not for the faint-hearted.
No.
A dwarf could handle it.
Of course.
A resourceful dwarf especially. But yeah, that's what you do. It's like, it sounds grim, and apologies to our vegetarian or vegan listeners, of which there might be more of after this, but that's basically what you do. You have to hang it, you have to cut it and let it bleed out, and that's the traditional way to do it anyway. So resourceful. But I like it. So basically, this is the artwork's giving it to you straight here.
Yeah.
Oh, Madame Villeneuve again.
She's
done it again. She's fantastic.
Yeah.
I
mean, don't get me wrong. I love the artwork, but I just need to explain to me.
He doesn't look too fussed, does he?
No,
he does this all the time.
He's done this a lot.
Needs must.
Okay, so we have 2 more.
Well, I think that naturally leads us to one of them, doesn't it?
We have 2 more. Go ahead. Jump to it. To it. Come on, go ahead. Jump to it.
Good meal.
This is our sort of card. I mean, I don't even know what the card is yet, but I know it's our sort of card. It's called a good meal, and I'm seeing bread and cheese.
No, it's not.
Oh.
It's not called a good meal. It's called good meal.
Ah, yes.
I knew you'd add an A to this, John. I knew it. He can't help it, our listener. Good meal. But is it a good meal? Let's have a look, shall we? What do you see on the table there, John?
I see bread.
Yes. Looks good.
I see a sausage and
some cheeses.
The cheese of brie.
The cheese of free. Is that a bowl of soup?
Bowl of soup. No spoon, though.
And
That's
a pint.
That's going to be awkward. And
No spoon. Aha.
and almost certainly a pint.
Yeah, definitely a pint. Hey, look, this has just been served up, ready for people to come down for breakfast. There's no one in there.
There's no one there. It's ready.
They would not have left. That's a full plate of food. The only thing that looks like anything's been taken off is some of the bread.
Yeah, but that's been put on the plates, I think.
Ah, yes, you're right. And maybe they put half a loaf per table.
Yeah, could be. And only one pint and only one soup, but 2 plates of sausage and cheese.
There could be another soup and another pint just off picture.
True.
Because there are 2 pints on the table behind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd go and have breakfast at this place.
It's good meal.
You can still say it's a good meal. Good meal. It costs, John, nought.
Oh, my Yelp review would be good meal. Free.
There's no such thing as free good meal.
Cost of nought.
Cost of nought. And it's attached to a Hobbit hero. What does it actually do? It's got an action. Discard good meal to lower the cost of the next event you play this round that matches attach hero sphere by 2. Whoa. For a short sentence, there's a lot of information in there, wasn't it?
Yes.
Let's just read that again.
Let's go again.
So it's an attachment. So you can discard this attachment to lower the cost of the next event you play this round. That matches the hero sphere. It doesn't really need to say that, by 2. So basically, discard good meal, which is a free card, and you lower the cost of an event by 2.
No, I think it does have to say the sphere because it's to do with which character it's attached to. So
I see. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yes. So you can't have good meal on one.
So you can't
one hero give it to another. That's why it says.
Yeah.
That.
So basically,
Okay.
basically we've got 2 Hobbit heroes, haven't we? At the moment, we've got Frodo and Bilbo. And Frodo was spirit, and Bilbo was lore. So if you have it on Bilbo, you can discard it, and then the next lore event you can reduce its cost by 2.
Yeah.
For instance.
That's what a good meal does to a Hobbit.
Yeah. Now, I absolutely love this card for one specific combo. Now, I'm going to jump into it because it actually refers back to cards from the last cycle. And if I was prepared, I would have them at hand. But as I don't, I'm going to go by memory and let's see how we do. Basically, if you can attach good meal to if you can attach good meal to Frodo, who is in the spirit sphere, well, it does exactly what it says. You can then discard it, and then the next spirit event would cost 2 less. There is a spirit. Here we go. There is a spirit event. Stand and fight. Am I correct?
Yes.
Stand and fight allows you to take an ally out of your discard pile and put it into play, paying the cost of that ally.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
I think we better find the.
Here it is. I've got it.
Okay.
Cost X.
Cost of X. Here we go.
Action. Choose an ally with a printed cost of X in any player's discard pile. Put that ally into play under your control. The chosen ally can belong to any sphere of influence.
Including Gandalf. No, let's not go down that route. Okay, but what is interesting about this is actually genuinely an absolutely brilliant combination, because the cost of X on that spirit event is the X is the cost of the ally, which can belong to any sphere. A good meal reduces the cost of the event by 2, which is a spirit event. Okay, so it doesn't matter if that ally is from tactics or from law or from leadership or from spirit, its cost will cost 2 less because the cost you're paying is for that event card, not for the cost of the ally.
Correct, yeah.
So you can bring in potentially expensive dead allies from any sphere with a reduced cost of 2. And it's surprisingly useful combo for this on Frodo.
Yeah.
I love
it.
Yeah,
Totally.
It's a and it's good meal.
Hello, sir. Did you have good meal? No, that's great. That's yeah. Yeah, you can totally see that. So yeah, for these more expensive ones, get a discount of 2 from. Yeah, it's not to be balked at, is it?
No, and I mean, for a cost of nought, it's a great card anyway. But for using it with standard fight is really, really a nice combo, I think.
Yeah, I've not played enough with Hobbit heroes generally.
Well, we only have 2 at this stage.
We've only got 2. I would say that I did use Bilbo for a couple of specific quests. And I think I only used Frodo. So I've played with him a few times. I didn't play with Frodo that many times. I know that we've spoken about it before. You found some really good uses for Frodo for using that sort of increasing threat. Oh, he'd be a good one to have with Aragorn.
Yep.
Lore Aragorn.
Good with Aragorn and Glorfindel. So you could potentially start with a lower starting threat. And then it doesn't matter how much threat you add on with Frodo.
Yeah. Potentially, yeah. So yeah, he'd dovetail nicely with both Glorfindel and Aragorn. Okay.
So that's good meal. That works. So that's good meal. So we have one more event, also for a cost of nought, and it is called The End Comes, and it's got a picture of some dwarfs there. Oh, and it looks like we're in a tomb.
At a wake.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of sad.
It is a little bit sad. And the event has a response, and it says this: after a dwarf character leaves play, shuffle the encounter discard pile back into the encounter deck. Stony silence.
I'm not sure I've ever played this, and I'm not sure it ever came into my head about the usefulness of this.
Well, I think
I'm probably wrong.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think this is possibly the worst card to date.
They've left it till the end. Left the best till last.
The end.
You know, there's going to be people listening thinking these guys, they haven't thought of this, they haven't thought of that.
Oh no! Well, please enlighten us, because let's think it through. Okay, after a dwarf character leaves play, shuffle the encounter discard pile. No, it's nonsense. It's a cost of nought. So okay, it doesn't cost you anything apart from space in your deck.
You know what? If you know that there are 3 or 4 things in the encounter deck which you just have to avoid, and you're 3/4 of the way through, and the odds are you're getting one of those cards any second, I guess it could be useful at that point. Could it? Are there any quests where you need to keep the encounter deck kind of full? I don't know. I can't remember. Maybe.
Go on.
Maybe when we revisit these quests, there might be something we think that's useful. I'm just guessing here, clutching at straws a little bit.
Well, let's say you're scrying the encounter deck and you see something awful But it'd have to be really awful to go, right, well, I'm glad I got this card. And then, no, actually, but then you still need a dwarf character to leave. So it's not even that you can see it coming and go, well, I better shuffle the deck then so I don't get this horrible troll. You have to then somehow get a dwarf character to leave. And they're famously, they outstay their welcome.
Is there a banishment event? I don't
This,
know, yeah.
No, this is
I'm not sure.
junk.
I quite like the quote on this one.
Does it say never? Well, yeah, go on. You're probably the first person to read it. Go on.
He is dead then, said Frodo. I feared it would say. It's amazing how delivery can really change the...
It brings it to life.
Feared it would say.
Ironically.
Yeah. Stand and fight.
No, but please, listener, if you have a use for this card, you are welcome to write in and let us know, because we can normally find something, can't we?
I'm usually the source of eternal optimism, right, for these things. Trying to find some kind of excuse or reason for anything. I'm struggling. I did come up with one. But then how do you trigger it? You've got to get
how
a
do you
dwarf
trigger
to die.
it? Well, you could sneak attack a dwarf in, so it would leave at the end of the phase. This is a lot of work in order to reset your encounter deck.
Well, how about this one? You're right at the end of your encounter deck, so you're in that lucky position where none of the enemies are going to get shadow cards. So you can do it then, and ensure that all the enemies do have shadow cards.
Nice.
I don't know what I'm talking about. The end comes. I mean, I think the end comes for this
Surely.
line of thinking. It doesn't. I don't know. The only one I could think of was what I said earlier. If you think there's only really nasty stuff left there, but maybe there is a, and it is a way of manipulating the deck, right? The encounter deck.
No, well, sort of. Resetting it. It's manipulating it to the point that you are going to put everything back.
In a random order.
No, but the only thing I can think of is that if you have scryed it...
What about
Okay.
if there is an objective and it ended up getting used as a shadow or something, and it's just sitting in the discard pile? You're like, oh, god damn it, I've got to get through this whole encounter deck and then reset it and go through that until I get to that encounter. Maybe this is a way to get that back into play.
Then put Shadow of the Past in your deck. Don't put this in and have to lose a dwarf and then randomly put it somewhere back into your...
It costs a dwarf. It costs a dwarf. It costs nought. It does cost a dwarf.
It does cost a dwarf.
It costs nought and a dwarf. But you know, if you don't have a spirit deck,
why do you need a spirit?
That is one potential way.
Well,
you know what?
Why do you need a spirit deck?
To play. What was the one you said just now?
Shadow of the Past. No, that's neutral as well.
Oh, is that a neutral card?
You always think it's spirit. It's neutral.
I do always think it's.
Get it in your deck. It's a massively underrated card.
I thought you were going to say get it in your head.
Get it in your head, man. Pull yourself together. It's neutral.
For God's sake, man. Shadow of the Past. Okay, it's neutral. When did that one turn up? Was that in the...
It's in the first cycle. I actually think it's in the last AP of the first cycle.
Shadow, yeah, you're right. Here it is. Cost of 2?
Yeah, but this one costs a dwarf.
Okay, so this one is move the top card of the encounter discard pile to the top of the encounter deck. Okay.
Yeah, so if you're worried about losing objectives, that's the card to have in your deck.
Right, and you just got to make sure you use it at exactly the right time.
Well, yes.
Well, hold on. When you defeat an enemy,
yes.
Do you remember on that one episode we spoke about the order in which they went back on the discard pile?
So when you defeat an enemy, the enemy goes on to the discard, then the shadow.
Then the shadow. Okay, fine. Hence shadow. Otherwise, shadow of past wouldn't make sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we had that whole discussion about maybe that's why it's called shadow. Okay. Yeah. Yes, I do recall. I should have used that card.
You should. It's great. It's completely underrated. Unlike The End Comes, which is, well, I don't know if it's underrated,
maybe
overrated.
it is.
Maybe
it might be
is.
underrated.
Maybe it's massively underrated by us.
I don't think it's. I don't think we've overrated it. I think we're pretty safe with that.
Okay, well that's a pretty damp squib to
yeah
to end.
That's why it's called The End Comes.
Yeah,
that card. The end of all things.
Oh well, we had some really, really excellent cards in that selection, and one really, really terrible one. I do. Look, I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it one positive spin, and that is the artwork is lovely, lovely dwarves.
This is for death. Do you know what this is about? For death of innocence, because the one lying down on the table is clearly Father Christmas.
Clearly,
Father Christmas is dead.
Yeah.
They're holding a wake for him, so his innocence is being lost. That's why dwarfs are little people. This happens to you when you're young.
Well, yes, I think this is. They look like they're ready to fight. I don't think they're like just queuing for the buffet.
No, they've all taken their last present from Santa Claus. This guy in the front, he was a good boy. He got a book and some bandages. The guy on the right got a torch for Christmas.
He's got a book. Okay, so right. Could that be the Book of Mazabul? Could this be the scene
Barlin's tomb.
Yeah, and now they're about to fight their way out. I'm trying to think of some sort of theme about. So the end comes. It's like this is the last ditch attempt, and then a dwarf dies, and then thematically, okay, it makes sense. A dwarf dies, and then all of these enemies swarm them because you're actually restocking the encounter deck. But you still don't want it in your deck. So, yeah, 8 out of 10 for theme. Naught for the card itself.
Okay, when Frodo says he is dead then, I feared it was so. I guess he's talking about this when they come across Barlin's tomb.
Must be, yeah.
Must be, and that's what this is about. I wonder if there is a quest in this cycle where this could be useful. But when we play through it, let's see if we can find a use for it. Because I like to find a home for every card,
Yeah. I want to try and build a deck purely around this card.
Just one of them.
Yeah. Okay, well, those are all the cards. But like I said, let's not dwell on the end comes.
No.
But it's because there are some really, really top heroes and some really nice neutral cards too. So I think as we play through this cycle for the podcast, I've definitely, by the way, I'm going to break away from the dwarf deck that I've been using in Cards of Doom. I think I've played them enough, I've explored them enough, but I'm going to do exactly like I did for the first cycle when we discussed it, is that I'm going to not restrict myself to strictly a progression of playing only cards that came out in that specific AP of the quest we're doing. I'm going to use basically all the cards which are available till the end of the cycle, and I'm going to build some decks around that. So I am looking forward to building some decks with these heroes and taking them for a spin.
Yep, same here. I was just looking back. I made some notes about how I got through, which decks I used to get through these quests on in this cycle the first time round. And I'm quite excited to go back and revisit a couple of these, I think. So I think I'll definitely revisit a couple, and I think I'll try and come up with some new ones based on what we spoke about today as well.
Yeah.
And we do have some decent quests coming up too.
Oh yeah, some crackers. Yeah. Okay, well, it seems like an age ago that we had a fact of the week and a shared the love.
Oh,
but
God, I remember that.
Yeah. But as this is a player card episode, these sections of the show are back. So
fact of the week. Every week. We don't even do one every episode.
Every week without fail.
We must continue to call it fact of the week though. Okay, what's the fact of the week, John?
Okay, I'm going to just work out which one we're up to. See, this is
4.
also it is also a bit awkward because there are lots and lots of facts, and they there were lots of them towards the beginning of the release of the game, of course, so a lot of them relate to sort of the core set and very early cards. And now we're way past all of this, and the facts still relate to it. But I think
they'll catch up, though.
Yeah, they'll catch up
By
because
definition.
I think, yeah. And maybe we have to do a couple at a time, but we can look into that. So this is the fact for this week. Question this week. It's a question. What happens to Banks of the Anduin? That's right. Cast your mind back.
Okay.
What happens to Banks of the Anduin if it is drawn as a shadow card? Because this is a riddle. Okay.
Oh, no, isn't Banks of the Anduin I'm thinking of the quest card on the second.
No, Banks. Yes. Well, no, it's an encounter card on the second quest. It's the one where. Oh, we should perhaps dig it out. But it's the one where I think when it's explored, it goes to the top of the encounter deck.
Oh, that one. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so you can do some nice tricksy things with it,
Yeah.
bouncing it around. So actually, I think that's exactly what this relates to. It's like, I've drawn it as a shadow card. Does it go to the top of the encounter deck or does it get discarded? The answer is it gets discarded, but let's just read the official answer. Answer, it will be discarded. Thank you. Okay, answer, it will be discarded from play at the end of the combat phase, like other shadow cards. When a card is drawn as a shadow card, only its shadow text is considered to be active. Okay, yeah, not much to say about that, I think. But I mean, a great one for new players, but as I think we've said before, by the time you got to this point in the podcast, you're probably well aware of how shadow cards work, that anything above the shadow line on an encounter card is completely ignored when it's a shadow card. You only ever look at what's below the shadow line when it's a shadow.
I see. Well, to be honest, for me, the way I do that, if that shadow line thing isn't there, I completely ignore anything it says on that card.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's no shadow.
Yeah.
No shadow. Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. Okay, because I was getting confused around that question at first. I didn't quite understand it, but that makes sense.
Oh, so Banks of the Enderman Pro doesn't have a shadow effect or anything then?
It doesn't. Well, I've got it here actually. Here's Banks of the Enderman has no shadow effect. It says. It's a Riverland, blah, blah, blah. Force, if Banks of Anduin leaves play, return it to the top of the encounter deck instead of placing it in the discard pile. But that's just its actual effect, and there's no shadow line, there's no shadow effect at all.
But that's actually quite interesting. So it's not when it's explored, it's when it leaves play. So actually I can see why this fact was raised, because that card is leaving play, but of course
it's not really in play though.
No, but it's not.
Shadow
No,
card.
but it's a shadow. When it's a shadow, but I can see why it was asked, because if Banks of the Anduin said once it's explored, it goes to the top of the encounter deck, then the question wouldn't need to be asked, because obviously you're not exploring it when it's a shadow card. But that shadow card is leaving play, but it's never, like you say, it's never really in play as a encounter card. It's because there is no shadow effect. But just know, which I'm sure everyone does already, that when it's a shadow card, only text below the shadow line is in play.
And it says shadow.
And it says shadow. Yeah. Alrighty. Okay. Well, we're rattling through the facts from the core set.
Thanks of the Anduin. Oh my goodness.
Okay. Well, now then, it's time for our Share the Love section. It's the part of the show where we point towards some other resources to do with Lord of the Rings and Lord of the Rings, the card game. This one's a bit of an obscure one, but that's always fun. And it sort of ties in to the whole Khazad-dûm experience we've been having. You remember a few episodes ago, we were looking into Sigil or Ziggle Minor.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah, and the Dwarven tongue, the Kuzdul, something like that.
Neo-Kuzdul.
Neo-Kuzdul, exactly. Now,
I remember that. I remembered something.
You did. Well, this is a website that I was reading, and actually it's really terrific. It's someone has been putting a lot of work into this over the years, and it is called the Dwarrow Scholar.
Wow.
.com again. I don't know. Let me just see.
Is it the Dwarrow Scholar?
No, just Dwarrow Scholar, I think. I think it is the Dwarrow Scholar, but I think the website is just Dwarrow Scholar. And basically, there's this guy, I don't know who he is. He's the Dwarrow Scholar. He is into dwarfs. This guy loves Tolkien and he loves his dwarfs. And
he really does, doesn't he? I've just looked up the website. Wow.
And he's really been looking into the language and where it's been used in the movies for Neo Kuzdal, and where it was used in Tolkien's work itself, and also all things kind of dwarfy. So if you are having fun with dwarfs, in playing along with us, and you want to get a bit more background into the dwarven text and the dwarven history, then this is a great place to go and show your support, because there's a lot of fun little things on here.
This guy's gone to town. I love it. I really admire people who just, if they're interested in something, just unapologetically just go for it.
Absolutely.
It's great. It's great. It's like, fill your boots. This is unreal.
Yeah, no, and absolutely. I completely, heartily agree. And that's one of the reasons why I really want to highlight these sites. Because like, the more obscure, the better, because these people, they put a lot of effort and a lot of time and a lot of love into their hobby.
Definitely.
And if we can help spread the word, then why not?
Even if those words are not in Neo Kazdal. Is that right?
Or not if those words are less than courteous.
Yeah. I spit upon your grave. Wasn't it?
Yeah,
Didn't you say that's what the translation was?
Yeah.
I remember something else. Maybe my memory is good for dwarves.
Well, like comparably.
Yeah.
I mean, his memory's terrible, but for dwarfs.
Yeah. Got a special place in my brain. Not in my heart, in my mind.
Yeah, so no, have a look on there. Lots of good stuff. I mean, yeah, there's pages and pages of it, so I'm not going to go into any details. But if you are at all interested in dwarven language or just dwarfs, it really is a.
He's got a Neo. Oh, it's Kuzdal, is it? Or Kazdal? Neo.
Yeah, I think we said Kazdal last time, but I think it is Kuzdal.
He's got a Neo Kuzdal dictionary, full-on dictionary here. This is unbelievable. Yeah, translation tools. Wowzers. We should have found this one before we did that episode. But does it say anything about pronunciation? So what was it, Zigil or Zigil?
Yeah, well, I still haven't quite got to the bottom of it.
Okay, we need to get in contact with this guy.
I think I will get in contact with him, and let's get this put to rest.
Age-old question answered once and for all. We can all sleep easy after that.
Okay, well, actually, that pretty much wraps up this episode then. So next time, I was going to say next week, next time, no promises, we'll be back to playing the game, and we'll be starting the Dwarrowdelf cycle. And you mentioned it earlier, you had the insert.
Oh, the Redhorn Gate.
Redhorn Gate. And I do remember that this cycle is particularly good. There's some particularly good quests in the cycle, so I'm quite looking forward to getting back into them, and also looking forward to building some different decks. So
definitely, yeah, can't wait. Yeah, these are some crackers coming up. Good.
All right.
Good.
Oh, good. Okay, but before then, if you do want to get in touch with us, there are a few ways to do it. That you can get in touch with us directly via email at latertherings@gmail.com. We have a Twitter thread. We have a very poorly managed Twitter thread. Twitter? No, it's not a thread, is it? What is it? We have Twitter.
Yeah.
We have it.
Presence.
We're on Twitter, which is at @latertherings. Okay. We're on Twitter, which is at @latertherings. And we have the Board Game Geek thread, which, as ever, there will be a link to in the show notes. So, with that, it's time for bed.
Did you literally slap your thigh when you said that? Done.
And all it leaves me to say is thanks once again for listening. Take care out there, and until next time, goodbye.
Goodbye.